Hello guys, it's Cedric for a new tutorial. Today we will be looking at a new render that I've been doing just a couple of days ago, and I asked on the Xparticles and Cycle 4D community if people were happy to have a breakdown, and everybody says yes. So here we are. I'm going to show you how to do this. First, let's have a look at the render that the first render. So it goes like this, and I did a second render where it actually falls on some geometry and it escapes through the gap in between the cubes here, like that. So that's what we will be doing. Before starting, please don't be shy. Come and follow me on my Instagram. You can find me at Cedric Fanjar here. It's always nice to be part of a larger community, and I'd be very happy for you to come and show some love here. Also, if you follow me, you will always have the YouTube a link for my tutorials on here. Anyway, let's get cracking. Let's start. So here we are. That's the second scene. The first scene I deleted the cache, so I thought I'm going to take you through that scene here. Nothing very much special. There is a backdrop. I have my scenes object that's just like well, I didn't use the pyramid at the end, but a few spheres and a few cubes. Yeah, nothing nothing really. And then I have an XP system. The render looks very nice. It looks complicated, but it isn't that complex. In fact, when I will take you through, you will be like, oh my god, that's so simple. But in order to do it, we do need to understand a little bit of the fluid possibilities of Xparticle in the dynamic. So I've been using fluid effects. I put the accuracy as high, and I left everything default here, and I also use some constraint here. That was quite important, this constraint with no break. I will come back to that in a second. Then I have an emitter. This emitter is using a sphere as sorry, let me go out of the camera. Is using a sphere, that sphere here, as emitting, to emit the particles, and you see they just fall here because I have some modifiers in here. I have a gravity that makes the particle fall, and I have a turbulence which gives this little curl thing to move my blob, whatever we're gonna call it, around. I have a wind effector that is following a spline, so it's literally just going in one way and on the other, so that it blows the blob to the left and then back to the right, and that's basically almost all what there is to it. So let's have a look at the particles, how I set them up. The particles, what do they have? First, I have an emission, as I said, as an object, and I just emit through the normals, and on the object, and then as my emitting emission mode, I used an hexagonal, because when you use liquid, you do want to have like a perfect grid at the beginning, but I did use some jitter so that it actually doesn't look like a perfect grid, but none of them is really touching. None of the particles is actually touching each other, so they don't explode. If I didn't do that, they would, as soon as you press play, they would explode. And now the thing is, everything is cached, otherwise it would take a little bit of time to show you. But at first I worked without gravity and without turbulence and without wind. I took everything away. So let's try to see, and I'm gonna try to not to use the cache for a second. And in the emitter, here I am at very low radius. When you use hexagonal mode, there is no count for how many particles you use. What counts is the radius of the particles. The lower the radius, the more dense you get particles inside your volume. So let's say if I put them at like 1.5, let's say like big, and restart this, you can see that I have way less particles, and like that you can start to work. You see that nothing happens to them. They have no speed. They have nothing basically, and they don't move. There is, I mean, now obviously there is some dynamic on here, but if I remove this, they just are born and nothing happens. Then as soon as I start to put the liquid, they start to behave like a liquid, but I didn't want them to behave like a liquid. I wanted them to behave like a granular system. So for that, first in the emitter, you go to the extended data and you go to the fluid data, and I used granular, and I left this at the default, where I went to change the friction, the stability, and the cohesion. This I used actually the constraint to change the stiffness, the radius, the connection limit. All this I did. Also the break as, which I changed from the default, which is relative connected to none, and we will come back to that maybe more in details. So I had my ball, and particles were not connecting to each other. I put a gravity. My gravity, I think it was too strong. It was falling too quickly to the floor, so I did limit this. But you see, as soon as they fall, they break, and well, there is nothing that happens. I had this on my plane here. Let's put it here. Let's start again. I have a collision on these and on the plane, just here at the same level exactly as my backdrop. So that's it, and that's the beginning of it. But they are not very cohesive. There is no proper cohesion. They just behave like this as a liquid, and there is no bounce and no friction. I removed that also in the general, in physical data. There is a bit of friction. Oh, sorry. There is a bit of friction, but no bounce at all on my particles. That's quite important. I didn't want them to bounce back. Then I wanted them to behave in a different way than that. I wanted them to be a little bit animated in themselves, not just to fall like this. So I started to play with turbulence, and I found a setting that pleased me, and I kept it ever after. So that was my setting. Not too much, very small scale on the curl. Again, they are not cohesive, and that's where I started to add the constraint to make them to connect them at birth. And now when they will be born, they will be connected to each other. Each particle will be connected with this set of settings, and that started to, I mean, after I played a lot with it, I found some settings that were quite cohesive, quite nice, like this, and where my blob just was active, but without losing his shape, really. And that's it. Then to find these settings, I obviously it's a little bit of trial and error on the turbulence. At first I had too much, then I have not enough, my scale was too big, and then I came back to something very, very basic and just dialed down the scale. That's all what I did, so that it doesn't make it go like all over the place. If it was too big, it would be like too much, and it would not be as nice. And then that was almost all what there is, because on my gravity, when I added the gravity, as soon as I add the gravity, we kind of get the effect. So of course there is a collider tag on every on each of these objects and on the floor. And let's have a look what happens. So now we don't have much particles, but they will still react nicely to the geometry in here. And I didn't activate the wind yet also, so they just fall, and then they will not have any motion after that. They will just fall and stay and lay down here. So that's when I had the idea of to give them some motion, bring some wind in the scene. And here is the wind. I'm gonna hide it so that we don't see this all the time, but the wind is actually, we will see, it's gonna start a little bit after. I didn't want to push them, and you see it's already starting to push them to the side. It makes them more alive. It makes it feel like it has a way of moving on its own. This little blob here is going to crash on these balls, on that ball, then on this geometry, and I came back the other side, so that I push it, and it will come through this. Oh gosh, I hate this thing when it does that. Through this this part here, and that's really basically all what there is to it. If I was to render this now, it would not look good, because I obviously don't have enough particles. You see, they're huge. I mean, it can be something that you're looking for, but I went much smaller, and that's so that let's get back to what we had here, which was 0.45. It takes a lot more. In fact, it takes so much that I'm not gonna press play. I'm just gonna reactivate the cache, and that gives us this much more detailed, much more beautiful little ball here. And if some of you said, oh yeah, I like the lighting also, well, for the lighting there is nothing. I just have an environment, and I rotate it a little bit to the side. It's just an HDR, really basic. There is almost nothing more to it. That's all what there is. To move my wind, I chose a full spline, but I could have just keyframed it like very easily. And that's really, in a nutshell, that's what it is. That this type of simple renders, which look good, I learned by looking at the Insidium content repository, which each time I open a scene from them, I'm like, gosh, that's so simple. And I've always tried to do like difficult things, much very, very difficult with like a lot of calculations and things. And I think like sometimes it's good to just get back to the basics and not necessarily use like crazily a lot of effectors. Stay simple and experiment with few parameters. In the constraint, I did play a lot with these settings, and in fact, I could show you that. Yeah, let's have a look. Actually, I will come back to my emitter and go back to a big number here so that it's quick to calculate. But and I will deactivate that in the setting here. So here the fall. Do you know what? I'm gonna put that ball. Where is it? The sphere. I'm gonna move it down a little bit so that they are born a little bit more close to here, so that they don't take too much time to fall. I just played with something like this, and in my constraint, if I leave the default of relative connected, it was like losing some of its it was breaking basically. And then you can use this setting here and dial it up or down to try to have more or less breaks. That's quite interesting. What I found is I will do more with this. That's part of my plan. Is you can use it to lose a little bit of cohesions, and by dialing it up, you can have or down, you can have more or less. You see now how he escaped. He lost completely his structure. So this is something that we can move in between. We can actually keyframe this, and maybe like have something where they become more or less cohesive in time and regroup together, and that type of things that can be interesting to see. So the look that you are after is the look you are after, not the look that I was after. What I wanted is something very cohesive with like that looks like it got life into it, and it doesn't really break like a liquid would. And I was very happy to manage to find the right things. Now it's up to you to do whatever you want to do with it. So that's basically what there is. As for the particles, there is they just colored with I mean, I give them a color in the emission. Here I think they have by speed, so that's why they change a little bit of color as they move. And then I just use this color parameter to drive my base color and a little bit of subsurface also, and that give what you've seen. Again, very basic, the most basic type of material, and that's it. That's how I did it. And that's I hope it will be helpful, that you will enjoy and do crazy things with it, because once you've got this running, you can really do many other things with it. You don't have to stick to this type of renders. I think it can be more creative. That was again a test at first, but a test that turned out to be quite nice. So that's why I published it, and I will probably do some more exploration on this in time. And I invite you to do it also, and to share with me, please. As I say always, it's nice to know what people do with what I show. So if you do something, please share in Instagram. Just tag me so I can see what you're doing, or give a credit if you do something that really looks like my tutorial. You can always point your viewer towards what I'm doing. That's always nice. All right, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon again. All right, bye bye, guys. Bye.